Good morning from Interstate 95. The sun got up about, I don't know, maybe about 45 minutes ago. I've been stuck just south of Quantico, Virginia, on I-95 for at least 15 hours. I've been in the car for 20 hours, and there is absolutely no sign that this is going to change anytime soon. Welcome back. That was me last Tuesday morning, trapped on Interstate 95 in Virginia after a snowstorm shut down more than 50 miles of highway, leaving thousands of people stranded for 20 hours with no help from state or local officials. But amid all the incompetence of government, you saw the best of people helping one another in a crisis. One truck driver handed out spare bottles of water he had. And then there was this. Tell me what you're doing.
So we've been looking on social media. We know a lot of people have been stuck out here for some 24 hours. Me and my wife have been sitting behind a Schmidt baking truck. She contacted them, told them the situation, and the owner of the truck told the driver to open it up and start handing out food to people. So just trying to help out.
I posted that clip on Twitter and it exploded. It gave people hope that goodness still exists, a fact we often lose sight of. Once I got free from the traffic jam, I reached out to John Noe, the man saw handing out the bread, his wife Casey, the truck driver Ron Hill, and the owner of the bakery, Chuck Paterakis. This is the first time they have all seen each other since that day.
Hi guys.
Hello. Nice to finally put a face to a name and a voice,
Yes.
like Jim was saying.
Ron, is that you?
Yes, it is. How are you?
I'm good,
Hello,
Ron.
Casey
How are
and
you
John.
doing?
Hi, Ron.
Good morning.
Doing well.
Yeah, so this is the first time again all of you have seen each other, right?
This is it.
This is it. Yes.
This is the Four Amigos, as they call it now.
Casey, describe for me, what your experience was like on the side of the road there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had been, like I said, we got onto I-95 South at about 11 a.m. From Baltimore, and we were just stop and go for hours and hours. And so finally, when we did stop, we were not 100% sure we were going to stop. I think I slept with my boots and seatbelt on that night. But like anybody that was on that road knows that night was not a very restful. And so in the morning, we were still starving. We were still thirsty. So we'd walked into town to see if we could buy anything. We don't normally just go calling companies and begging for food, but he couldn't find anything. The entire town was out of power, but we just kind of had seen this truck, and he kind of made a joke to me about, oh, how incredible would a loaf of bread be right now? And so I gave the customer service line, and I have no idea who I spoke to on the line. I should have asked her name, but she was so kind. And then I know my mom also gave a call because she was so worried about us. And I think Chuck had actually gotten back to my mom and gave her his phone number. And she called me sobbing, just saying, please go talk to this driver. This incredible man, Chuck, just called me back. And so I went and knocked on Ron's window and said, hey, I think your CEO is trying to talk to you. And he was a little confused, but it all just spiraled from there.
When you ended up stopping completely, were you stopped directly behind the bread truck?
Yeah, there was one car between us and the bread truck, but even the pictures I had sent to like my mother about the situation, you could see the pictures that you could see the bread truck in originally. So we were staring at it.
And John, you're sitting there for all those hours, staring at a bread truck. How long had it been since you had anything to eat at that point?
We figured it had probably been around 37 hours. The last time we had eaten was Sunday night because we woke up Monday morning and it had started to snow that night. And so our thinking was, if we just get on the main roads, they'll be better maintained than in town. And that once we get past the snow, we'll pull off and get something to eat. Unfortunately, that was not the case.
Casey, that must have been torture. You're sitting behind a bread truck, staring at the back of a bread truck while you're hungry. What was that like?
Absolutely. It was definitely not fun. Those pictures, Chuck, those pictures are incredible on the back of that bread truck, but really they were just pure torture at that point in time. So I think by the time we actually got those potato rolls into our mouth, they were the best thing I've ever eaten in my entire life.
So Chuck, how did you learn about what was going on I-95 and what John and Casey were experiencing?
I was contacted by Kim, who took the call from a call center and said, I have a couple people that are on I-95. Obviously, I woke up. I have a couple of drivers got stuck during this process. So when I went to bed, I realized what was going on, and I couldn't believe to hear when I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning that nothing has been moved on Virginia, and there was no one giving anybody any help. So about 9:30, when Kim called me, she says, there's a couple of people out there, they're calling our website or calling in asking that they're hungry. And if the bread had any, if the truck had any bread on the truck, that could we be allowed to open it and hand out so we could feed people. It's probably one of the strangest requests I have ever given. We were very involved with charities and we've done a lot of things, and we do things as a family business. We do things on demand, but this was a little bit strange. But it didn't take me but a second to realize if I was in that situation and I was staring at that bread and there's decal on that bread, if that's the only source of food, I would have done the same thing. I would hope that the supplier of a bakery or a soda truck, whatever that was, would have opened their doors and handed it out.
So Ron, you're sitting in this truck. You're stuck as well. What was your experience like on I-95?
It was strange because I've never experienced nothing like that. 14 years of driving, and I laid back in the back of my cab and went to sleep. I prayed, and I wanted to get out and give out bread, but there's a protocol I had to take. And next thing I know, I'm sitting in my front seat. Casey comes up to the side of me. I'm watching her. I said, "Who's this lady walking on this ice?" She's walking, looking over at me, and I'm looking at her in my side view mirror, trying to figure out if she can stop in here, does she need some help or something. So when she stopped, I rolled my window down. And I said, hello. She said, hello. I have Smith Bakery on the phone, Chuck. I said, okay. I said, can you give me his number? So she gave me his number. I wrote it down, and I called him. He said, we got a strange request. The people out there are hungry. Do you mind getting out your truck, opening up the back, hand out bread? Then he said, well, what type of bread do you have in the trailer? So I got my paperwork, and I looked. I said, we have wheat bread. We have potato bread. So he said, give out as much as you can, give one of each, and don't let them overwhelm you, and be careful. So I got out, that's where it took. I went one way, Casey went another way, and John went further, because I'm a little older. He went further down the ice up the hill, and he came back, and we started doing some more. And I felt that Casey was kind of worried about him. She said, you need to get back in the car. So we ended it, but I handed them more bread for helping, and that was the end of it. I thought that was going to be the end of it. Then next thing I know, I'm personally getting phone calls from Chuck, and there it goes from there. So I was glad I was able to help.
John, Casey, what was the reaction from people as you were, walking up and down 95, tapping on their windows, offering them loaves of bread?
Everyone that we were able to reach was very thankful. There was some families had small children who were having an even rougher time because most people that night probably got on I-95 expecting a 15-20 minute drive, and here we all are some 24 hours later. And then everyone was really receptive. Some of the people near the truck as well, as soon as they saw what we were doing, hopped out and started helping as well. And everyone just kind of came together and was very receptive.
Casey, what was the reaction you were getting from folks?
Yeah, people were just so gracious, and we tried, at least I tried to. I think John as well. You can attest to whether or not he did, but I just tried to greet everybody with a smile and just ask them if they were doing okay, and ask them if they were hungry, if they needed some bread. I gave a brief, very, very brief synopsis to a couple people about where I had gotten the bread, so I didn't just look like a crazy woman. But yeah, they were so kind, and some people were so very thankful. Many of them were getting out of their cars to begin walking into town, and I was able to tell them the town was completely closed and that they wouldn't have any luck, but I could offer them this. So people are just so thankful. I've also heard some people wishing there was a beer truck around, but I don't know if they'd have been as kind.
Chuck, one of the things that I like so much about this and why I think it did take off was, I find that in the midst of a crisis, people are tested and the best of people comes out. And I think that's what we saw here, and I think that's why it resonated. Yeah, government may have failed in terms of providing and helping the people who were stranded, but at the end of the day, it was others helping each other. The folks on the road helping and getting through this together.
It starts from how you're growing up, and my parents and my dad, who started a business 80 years ago with a little tiny row home, a brick oven in the basement of a row home, instilled in the family and the children that success is measured on what you get back. And obviously this is a tribute to my parents and to what they instilled us when we were younger. Our core values says it too. One of our core values says, do the right thing.
John, Casey, I want to talk to you a little bit more about your experience, because I hope you don't mind my sharing this, but you're newlyweds. You're fairly newly married. You only were married in November, correct?
Yes, we were married November 13th. So this is our first real year together. So.
And this is an interesting early test of your marriage. How do you think it held up?
It definitely a test, but we just played games the entire time, listening to music. We didn't bicker, we didn't fight. We've gotten that question a lot. I got asked once what I learned about my husband in these 37 whatever hours, and I learned to keep him fed. So thank you, Chuck, for that one.
And John, what do you do?
I'm currently active duty Air Force. Was stationed at Dover Air Force Base. Actually getting ready currently to move to Germany to Ramstein Air Force Base. But that was the reason we were on our way to North Carolina, was to say goodbye to family as we're preparing to leave. But I was definitely glad we finally got there.
Ron, you said you've been driving a truck for 14 years. You've never experienced anything like this. Any hesitation about getting back on the road?
Oh no, it's my job. I gotta do what I have to do.
What do you like about being a truck driver?
The freedom, no one over my head, and just going to different locations.
Jim, Ron also is a veteran, and he also started his own ministry not too long ago.
I was in the Army for 10 years. I'm a total disabled vet, but I'm still able to work. And for years, I've been giving away turkeys, giving away bread, helping disabled kids, lead them in the right way, buying them school clothes, whatever they need, supplying gifts for them for Christmas. Is my parents instilled in me to give. My parents were givers. And like Chuck said, his parents instilled you have to do the right thing. You have to treat people the way you want to be treated. So being out there, you give and it shall be given back to you, pressed down, shaken together, running over. So that's all. That's how I look at it. I try to be nice to all mankind, regardless of any situation. If I'm able to help, I'm helping.
John, Casey, I'll give you the last word. As you look back on all of this, what do you take away from it? What's the thing that you learned from this moment in time, both about yourselves and about life in general?
Yeah, the one thing that we just keep talking about, we just took away from this whole experience, was that humanity prevails over everything. That we might have been having road rage a couple hours earlier, or people might have been a little grumpy or sad or in a really tough situation. But regardless, just the people around us are incredible, and you can always find humanity in even the most dark situations.
Truly remarkable. We'll be right back.